Bureau. I'm curious, since you lost the last campaign by 2 percentage points, and because all votes are crucial, especially those in the undecided bloc, why won't you debate conservative Marlin?
Well, because I want to debate David Dinkins one-on-one. Marlin has less than 2% of the vote. He would never show up in a presidential debate. And the reason that Dinkins wants him is exactly what you saw on television, so that both of them together can attack me. And either David Dinkins or Rudy Giuliani is going to be the next mayor of New York City. It's time to have one-on-one debates. In 1989, Dinkins pulled out of 12 one-on-one debates with me. So far this year, he's pulled out of 7. There's one scheduled tomorrow night with Nehru, and then one scheduled on CBS for later in the week. I'm going to show up for both of those, and I would like to have a one-on-one debate with the mayor. After all, one or the other of us is going to be the next mayor. And then instead of having chickens flying around, we could talk about who can do a better job with crime, with drugs, with getting the economy of New York City going again, who can take control of the schools better, who can offer more hope of change for New York City. These are the things that Dinkins doesn't want to talk about, so he brings Marlin along to distract.
Looking at your economic plan, you've accused the incumbent, your opponent, of causing the city of New York to lose 350,000 jobs. In looking at your economic proposals, you would call for a reduction in the city workforce. Contradiction? Can you hear me? I think we have IFB problems. I'll try one more time. Mr. Giuliani, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I guess we were cut off.
Okay. I was looking at your economic plan. You accuse Mayor Dinkins of causing New York to lose 350,000 jobs, yet your proposal would call for a reduction in city workers. Contradiction there?
No, not at all. We would do in New York what they're doing in Philadelphia and Indianapolis, which is over a period of time to cut down the size of city government so we could put more money back into the private sector. Indianapolis has cut its budget for 3 years in a row. Philadelphia just cut its budget by $240 million, and New York has increased its budget by $1.9 billion this year. We're going in the wrong direction. They're going in the right direction. And what I want to do is to put more money back into business in New York so we can create private sector jobs. That's how we've crushed jobs.
What about tax incentives for businesses? You're proposing to reduce 4 major city taxes, yet there are projections that show New York will have a nearly $2 billion budget deficit for 3 years in a row.
Right. The only way we're going to
How do you do that?
The way you do it is exactly the way it's been done in other cities, which is to reduce the size of a city government that is larger than almost every state. New York City is the 3rd or 4th largest state in terms of spending. We have got to reduce spending in New York. We did it once before, between 75 and 83. We reduced the size of the city government by 50,000 employees during the last fiscal crisis. We have to do that again in order to put some money back into the private sector. We have got to show growth in private sector jobs in New York. If we don't do that, there's really no hope for the city.
Looking at your plan affecting schools, you say you're for condom distribution with parental consent. What about abortions for pregnant teenagers?
Well, they have to be made available, and a woman's right of choice has to be protected, and it has to be protected completely, including for poor women who don't have enough money to afford abortions.
CNN recently had a New York poll which said that 45% of the residents in New York City said if they could, they would leave the city because of deteriorating conditions. Now, is that sentiment the result of a one-term administration by Mayor Dinkins?
No, absolutely not. That's a long-term failure to deal with our problems. I mean, the present administration is blamed for making it worse, but certainly not initiating it.
Does that include Ed Koch, who endorses you?
It includes the entire leadership of the city for some time and a sense that things are just getting worse. Unfortunately, this administration didn't seize on the opportunities to really try and initiate things in this city. To find innovation, you've got to go somewhere else other than in New York City. You go to Chicago, you can find privatization being utilized. You don't find that in New York City. Philadelphia has reorganized its relationship with the municipal workers. David Dinkins has done just the opposite. He's made things much worse. So we're a city that isn't fighting back, and that has made things much worse under David Dinkins.
Since 1990, there are 3,000 more policemen on New York City streets. The murder rate and the rate of reported crimes have gone down. Is Mayor Dinkins really soft on crime in your judgment?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no question about it. He refuses to to agree with an ending of release of violent criminals to the street early in New York on under the parole system that we have. Also, those additional police officers are making far fewer arrests. The arrest of drug dealers is down by over 100,000.
What would you do about that? What would you do about that, your first day in office?
I would reinstitute the policy of allowing police officers to arrest street-level drug dealers, which no longer happens. Entire neighborhoods have been turned over to drug gangs now. The numbers are 100,000 fewer drug arrests in the last 3.5 years under Dinkins as compared to Koch. And that has had an impact on reported crime. An awful lot of people aren't reporting crime anymore that they used to report because arrests are down so far.
Has the talk about race and ethnicity shortchanged New York voters when it comes to other issues?
Absolutely. This election is not about race. It's about crime, drugs, schools, jobs, health care. That's what 95 to 98% of the people tell you they want to hear about. And unfortunately, sometimes the focus gets off of that. And you will find differences of opinion on those issues in every single racial, ethnic, and religious group in this city. And if we can appeal that way, we're going to bring this city together. If we constantly emphasize race, unfortunately, we're going to make a situation that has gotten worse get even worse.
Who's been emphasizing race?
I haven't. So you can draw the implications from that. I don't think this election has anything to do with anyone voting for me. I don't think anyone should vote for me because of any ethnic, racial, or religious identification. Some people are going to do it anyway, but we have to be very disciplined not to make appeals that way.
The undecideds will be crucial according to all the information we can look at. What are you going to do about the undecided votes between now and election eve?
Not go to sleep and try to meet with every single one of them if I possibly can and convince them that we are the hope really for reform and change in New York City. But we're going to try to reach out to them as best we can on television, on radio, and we've done over 150 town hall meetings. We had one last night. We're going to have 3 tonight. And we're trying to go into the areas in which, as best we can tell, the undecided vote exists. But we're reaching out to the whole city.
Rudolph Giuliani, thanks for joining us on Inside
Thanks,
Politics.
Bernie.